Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rebel News live stream on this, a Tuesday, June 28, 2022. I'm David Menzies, and my co-host, well, let me tell you a little bit about my co-host. You know, today is National Insurance Awareness Day.
Woo.
And this is my insurance policy that you're going to get a good show today. She is always looking super duper behind the wheel of her fully insured Mini Cooper.
It is.
She is the Khaleesi of Leslieville. She is Natasha Biazze. How you doing, my friend?
Well, that always just makes my day, so I'm doing quite well. Nobody greets me like you do or introduces me, so thank you. How you doing today?
You know what? Busy as hell, and that's the way, I like it, as
With you
Casey and
there.
the Sunshine Band used to say, because the alternative, to be bored out of your mind, is incomprehensible to me. So, and you know what? I got to tell you, Natasha, we're kind of like a one-man gang, Rebel News that is, in terms of bringing the other side of the story. There are some others out there too, Post-Millennial, and there's True North. But, you know, I wonder, if not for us, how many of the stories that we cover would ever get reported or, more importantly, covered fairly, right? As opposed to some kind of Praetorian Guard, state-funded media party narrative, which is increasingly what we're finding these days now that so much of the media is not only, funded by your federal tax dollars, folks, but in the case of Torstar Corporation, your provincial tax dollars. Of course, I make mention of Torstar getting that $500 million a year Christmas gift from Doug Ford.
I want a piece of that.
Oh, I would like that too. It's inexplicable because I remember the days not too far away, a decade ago or so, where Doug and Rob would refer to the Toronto Stars being the worst of the worst. A bunch of maggots was the comment. I'm not paraphrasing here. And suddenly a monkey tosses a bone in the air. It's 10 years later, and the Torstar can't make money with its newspapers. So it goes into the online gambling business. It needs a favor, and Doug is there to give them a $500 million a year gambling license. How do you make sense of that?
You don't. I mean, certainly that statement of his did not age well, I guess.
No.
Yeah.
I guess the maggots, they went through a metamorphosis and became beautiful butterflies or something like that.
Yeah.
But I'd ask Doug, but every time I show up to a Ford Nation event, I'm threatened with arrest. How do you like that?
Oh, well, that's just so democratic.
Yes. Well,
wonderful.
the world is upside down. Anyways, this is your role to tell the folks what the ostensible policy reason is of this show.
Yeah, so this is the Rebel News Daily live stream, which airs every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, different hosts throughout the week. So we usually stream on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, and if you want to send your chats throughout the show, we would love to read them throughout. And you just send us a couple bucks. We'll see. You can even see your message on screen, and we love to read them. It's fun to get your feedback, hear from you, hear what you guys are thinking, and we really appreciate your little donations as well. They help keep the lights on.
Yeah, 100%. And of course, as much as we love YouTube, in terms of its reach, and I think we have over 1.5 million subscribers, Natasha. If there are certain issues that YouTube, because they are a censorious thug based in Silicon Valley, takes a dim view of, that would be a contrarian viewpoint to the coronavirus narrative. That would be, speaking of electoral fraud. 2016 electoral fraud, you can fill your boots with that, but not 2020 electoral fraud. Then we have to bid adieu. YouTube to me, Natasha, and those in the Greater Toronto area will know what I mean, they are like the electronic toll highway 407. I love how it moves the traffic, even at the height of rush hour. You are just zooming along at highway speed instead of being in gridlock. But man, oh man, when I get that bill, it is just, is the mob running this highway?
Your analogies.
What's that?
Your analogies are like no other. You
Well,
should
it's
write a book.
What I'm saying, it's love-hate.
Yeah,
right?
no, for sure.
I love-hate the ETR. I love-hate YouTube. So anyways, I don't see anything
I don't think we'll have to move over, but you know what? It's Menzies and I, so who the heck knows? Should we get into our first topic
please.
then?
Fire away, my dear.
Alrighty, so as some of you may know, Rebel News broke the story last night that convoy organizer Tamara Lich was arrested in Medicine Hat. Those of you who don't know, she was the leader of the trucker convoy, and she was arrested and held for a few weeks without bail, and then she was finally released, and an extremist judge put political conditions on her. Basically, she's not allowed to criticize the government. And last night, she was arrested again, according to her lawyer, Keith Wilson, and her alleged breach is being photographed with Tom Marazzo at the Toronto JCCF award dinner. Yikes.
You know what? I was at that dinner.
Yeah.
It was almost 2 weeks ago tomorrow. And it was an amazing event. Tamara Lich was receiving the George Jonas Freedom Award, and boy, did she ever deserve it.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, folks, her acceptance speech, she knocked it out of the ballpark. Rex Murphy had the greatest line. He was the keynote speaker. He goes, "How do I follow that?" There is so much substance to this woman. And here, if this is true, if that was the breach of her bail conditions, and she was, when she was making the speech, she was very careful, noting that, there she is, that she had to follow strict bail conditions, such as staying off social media. I can't believe that's a thing. Here is this, brave, proud Métis grandmother, and she is forbidden from going on social media. But I'm telling you, this is where I smell a rat, Natasha.
Okay.
If this is true, if that's the reason that she is being put back into custody, that dinner, as I said, was precisely 13 days ago.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they, and they are watching her like a hawk, and in fact, I wouldn't doubt if Tamara Lich has her phone tapped, much like Rob Stocky and several others that we've met. You don't find out until after the fact that, oh, by the way, from this date to this date, we were monitoring your phone calls and your internet travel. Here's the thing. I'll tell you why I smell a rat. As you know, on Friday, that's Dominion Day, Canada Day for you young ones out there. And the thing is, I might be wrong, but I'm thinking they're going to rag the puck in terms of releasing her. And that means keeping her away from a public forum in Ottawa on Dominion Day. I think that's what this is all about, because if it goes down to the George Jonas dinner that we attended, then why wasn't she arrested the very next day?
Yeah, and we already know that the city of Ottawa is preparing for Canada Day protests, and they're really on the offensive here, it seems, to just try to prevent freedom-loving Canadians from celebrating freedom. Like, I don't get it. Do they not understand what the meaning of Dominion Day or Canada Day is?
No, they don't. It's so perversely ironic, Natasha. I mean, this is the 40th anniversary of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms brought in by Justin's father. Who would have guessed that Junior would be putting that through the paper shredder? It's almost as though, I've made this analogy before. 20 odd years ago, there was a fantastic film, Minority Report, starring Tom Cruise. And it's a dystopian future, which I think has arrived actually right here in Canada, where with the use of psychics, the pre-crimes unit, as they're known, will arrest, try, convict, and jail you based on a crime you might do in the very near future. Of course, something goes wrong with one of the psychics, which makes the Tom Cruise character question the whole system. But this is what this is all about. This is, if our theory is right, believing that Tamara Lich is going to commit a future crime. Mm-hmm. So the pre-crimes unit comes in and makes sure she's cordoned off from the masses. And with the likes of Tom Stocky, if you haven't seen that video, folks, this is an ex-law enforcement officer, an ex-officer of Ottawa Police Service, zero criminal record. He had his phones and his electronic devices monitored for no other reason he can tell than he appeared at the freedom rallies. it's astonishing because normally the benchmark for that kind of surveillance, Natasha, we're talking terrorists, we're talking mafiosa types, right? These are people that are hell-bent on violence, murder, mayhem, you name it. And an ex-cop shows up at a freedom rally, and much like the story du jour here, Tamara Lich, there's Tom right there, doesn't look like a man with trouble on his shirt, as the Bruce Springsteen lyric goes. And with Tamara Lich being arrested, oh, how convenient, just 3 days before July 1st. I think I smell a rat here.
Well, yeah, and as Sheila even tweeted last night, she said, apparently this tiny Métis grandmother is the biggest threat to public safety in Trudeau's Canada. And it's true, like, aren't there bigger fish to fry? Like, the same with this officer you're speaking of. Like, there must be other criminals in Canada that they could be targeting rather than freedom-loving Canadians. Like, how is that a crime?
Yeah, other criminals in Canada they could target. I mentioned terrorism, like Omar Khadr. They targeted him for a Lotto Max jackpot of $10.5 million in 2016. I guess you fail upwards in this country. Omar Khadr, our homegrown al-Qaeda terrorist, killed a U.S. serviceman, partially blinded another, and for basically hurt feelings, Natasha, he gets an 8-figure check, whereas, as Sheila says, this Métis grandmother, what are her weapons? I guess to quote Max Bernier, is it her thoughts? Is it her statements? Are those what you mean by weapons? She's being persecuted based on thought crimes?
Yeah. No, it's crazy. And like, how is getting your photo taken with someone, how does that warrant an arrest? Like, look at Trudeau's blackface photos. He gets off scot-free. And yet this like grandmother is taking a photo with a fellow freedom lover and she's being arrested?
That is a great point. This is just two adults having a photograph together. They're on the right page in terms of the Freedom Convoy. And what did we see with the media? They were apologetic of Justin Trudeau. A prime minister, in his own words, he can't remember how many times, because there you go. There's the Arabian Nights gala. I think that's also, could you also call, say that Justin Trudeau there was committing cultural appropriation with the turban on there?
I would think so.
Yeah, isn't that a big deal with the left these days? And then with the, I think that was brown face, then there was the blackface photos. You know what I find the most shocking of the blackface photos, Natasha, the ones we've seen, and maybe we can dig one up.
There's so many.
I think this is even more offensive than the actual black paint he puts on his white face. It's he's always sticking his tongue out. Is this how Justin Trudeau thinks black people walk about during the day? They've got their tongues out like they're panting dogs or something?
Yeah, it's gross.
I mean, what's the deal with that?
No, it's so gross. And it's funny that the left always turns a blind eye to his... We're
going to see it now. Look, what's with the tongue?
I don't know.
And look how vested he is in the blackface. He's done his arms.
His
he's
whole
done
body.
his legs.
Like, that's commitment.
And then the tongue again.
It's not good. It's not good.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
So here's the deal, folks. In case you don't know, there's going to be a bunch of rebels descending upon Ottawa. Gee, I shouldn't be saying this, maybe.
No, I would be careful there.
This might tip off the Ottawa Police Service. But tomorrow, Mauricio and I will be heading out there, and we'll be there for July 1st, Dominion Day, Canada Day, whatever you want to call it. Although, we'll get to this later, in Winnipeg, it's not even Canada Day anymore. It's New Day, right? But
don't know what that is.
Neither do I, or I would imagine almost all 38 million Canadians. But we are going to do our damnedest to try to make sense out of this Tamara Lich persecution, because as I understand it, Is she on her way back to Ottawa? Is that the idea?
I think that's the plan. I think the Ottawa police tweeted that she's been arrested for breach of court conditions and that she'll be returned to Ottawa to appear in court. I think they said it like within, is it 6 days? I think it was. And there's a Canada-wide warrant.
Ooh.
So that's a bit threatening.
You know, Natasha, I hope the Ottawa Police Service do their due diligence and make sure she's handcuffed and she has leg cuffs on. Oh, by the way, why don't we go full Hannibal Lecter here? Why don't we put a goalie mask on her so she doesn't bite anyone and strap her to a gurney as well? Because obviously this is a clear and present danger to Canadian society. Just give me a break.
The thing is, though, I think the Ottawa police will be a bit busy blocking roads in Ottawa to prevent any sort of shenanigans or occupiers, as they call them, from taking place in Ottawa for Canada Day celebrations.
Occupiers.
I know.
You know,
and how much money is this going to cost?
But it's funny. I'm having a brain cramp here, Natasha. Forgive me. They didn't mind it when a couple of years ago they had occupiers of the Green Movement. Remember that woman who claimed she cycled from Calgary to Ottawa? And if you believe that, I mean, I don't want to be mean here, but I'm looking at her, and there's no way she cycled from Calgary to Ottawa. Yeah, I've got some infrastructure in Brooklyn that'll sell you for a good deal. But they didn't mind when she turned the National War Memorial into a pigsty with a fake protest, by the way. We went up there and we went into, there was all these tents, folks, and this is what they like to do. Look how many people are camping out in the frigid February winter of Ottawa. And then we started opening tents. We're knocking on them. Hello, Avon calling. Nobody's in the tents. It's just her. But it was a pigsty at the National War Memorial. That was okay. Before Justin Trudeau became Prime Minister, again, I'm having another brain cramp. There was that Native female chief who set up a hunger strike.
Oh, yeah.
One hell of a hunger strike. I think she gained weight on it, right?
All right, well.
And it was discovered she was, by the way, when it got really cold, she went across the street to the hotel to wait it out. But that kind of occupation is okay. But this kind of occupation, people losing their jobs, their livelihoods, because of vaccine mandates and the rest, you're not allowed to speak because that goes against the Trudeau Liberal narrative. I think this is despicable, Natasha.
Yeah, it is. There's just such a clear attack on freedom. And I think that what's crazy is the government and the powers that be, like their definition, if you're not using their definition of freedom, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it's gross. There's only one way to define freedom, in my opinion. I think if the dictionary is pretty clear. I'm sorry, Ottawa Mayor. I don't think yours fits the bill.
Oh, Jim Watson's a disgrace.
Yeah.
That is a name that does not escape my memory. And, speaking of mayors and politicians, I want to ask Natasha, where are those freedom-loving politicians, especially on the right, because we know where the left stands on this, where is the ruckus that they're making about this Tamara Lich arrest? This is obviously politically motivated. She's no danger to anyone in any shape or form. All I've seen is Maxime Bernier, the leader of the PPC party, come on and denounce this as outrageous, which it is. But all these right-of-center politicians who say they back this movement, well, as Clara Peller, the old spokeslady for Wendy's, used to say, where's the beef? Yeah, there's Maxime Bernier's tweet. This is disgusting.
No, absolutely, yeah. Especially in the wake of a leadership candidate election for the Conservative Party of Canada, you think they'd be like full steam ahead trying to prove to Canadians that they're not the red Tory that Erin O'Toole was, and that when whoever becomes the leader, they will actually be the opposition party that Canada's yearning for. Yeah. And if they can't speak out about this, how are they going to defend our rights and freedoms when they're in government? It's a simple thing to comment on, frankly.
Yeah, Hey, Patrick Brown, what about you? Where do you stand? Not that we believe a single word you say. I mean, this is a cat that would spit in your face, Natasha, and tell you it's raining. But I guess you're too busy on your major platform plank of getting the Tamil Tigers delisted as a terrorist group in Canada, because you know what? You want to play out to, I don't know, the pro-Tamil Tiger terrorist supporters. Can you imagine? That's okay. And he gets a pass on that.
I know.
Natasha. But speaking up for a patriot, a freedom fighter, that's a little radioactive. Don't want to go there.
I know. How is it at all controversial to defend Tamara Lich? Like, how is this controversial? Like, she's a grandma. She cares about freedom. Freedom for all of us, whether you're on the left or the right. Like, I don't understand why this is at all controversial.
Yeah, and you know what?
Maybe I'm mistaken.
I don't know, is her speech at the George Jonas Freedom Award dinner, Natasha, is it posted anywhere? Because if it is, I urge our viewers to watch it. You will be blown away. It was a bases-loaded grand slam.
Wonderful.
And, this is a very thoughtful person. This isn't just some, figurehead. She is very well-spoken and very well thought out on what freedom means. And to see the lack of support, especially for those people that are, fighting to be the conservative leader, I think it's shameful.
It is. And I think a lot of people are going to start to distrust the Conservative Party even more if they fail to comment on things like this. Should we move on to another story about just how crazy things are in the wake of the freedom movement?
Well, as I used to say on Laughing, suck it to me, baby.
Alrighty, so guys.
For your time, I know.
I'm just going to pretend I understand him. I'm just kidding. So apparently, y'all, Canadians are becoming flag-phobic in the wake of the freedom movement, according to a so-called Brock expert. An expert. Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know you could be like literally afraid of a flag, because isn't that what being phobic is?
We have many examples.
Yes, we do.
Indeed, our colleague Tabitha Peters and I went to Sunderland, Ontario yesterday. That video might be up later today or tomorrow. But this is proof in the pudding about how, uncomfortable some people are with the Canadian flag now that it became a symbol the world over of the freedom movement. We from India to Australia, we saw similar protests, Natasha, where the Canadian flag was being waved in homage to the people in Ottawa and Coutts and Windsor. And this story, folks, is the Lions Club in Sunderland was planning to give, and I think that's still going through, the grade 1 students at Sunderland School a little Canadian flag, and to sit down with them and talk about why Canada is a great country. Whoa! That apparently is third rail stuff to the principal, Jennifer Fisher, at Sunderland Public School, because she sent out permission forms. See, the Western Standard had it. So, and it wasn't about going on a field trip. It wasn't about a school dance. It was about, do you allow little Davy or little Natasha to accept a Canadian flag, because, and by the way, there was no reason given for this. And I believe Principal Fisher is curled up in the fetal position in the staff lounge now because there's been so much blowback on this. So
well, good.
Well, I agree. I mean, what's unfortunate is the poor secretarial staff have to field the angry calls.
Yeah,
it's not
certainly
their decision. And the Durham School Board has to give out an official reason. And the official reason was the first one. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but it was based on environmentalism. Now, I know the Canadian flag has a leaf in it, but that's not what they mean. They mean that, well, maybe the child's folks already have a Canadian flag, so this would be redundant.
No.
Hand to God.
Oh, my goodness.
Or maybe they're not going to use it, which again means it's redundant and goes in the trash. So we want to save the environment. And the second one was suddenly the Durham District School Board is speaking for Canada's Native community. There might be some Indigenous folk that look upon the Canadian flag through a different prism, and it's not positive. By the way, they have no statistics to back that up.
Of course not. It's a
So,
baseless accusation. But I think like didn't most Canadians support the convoy? Like I think a lot of Canadians were in support of the convoy, and I also don't think that the convoy owns the flag. Like I don't necessarily associate the Canadian flag with the convoy. I associate it with so much more. I mean,
100%.
you know.
Well, if you go to that video went up yesterday, Recipe Unlimited in Vaughan, Ontario, probably has the largest flagpole that can be seen from Highway 400. The Canadian flag has been taken down.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Is there like a pride flag hanging up, or?
Oh, you better believe it. And
Okay.
it's big enough to, there you go, Recipe
nice.
for Disaster. And I'm saying, you know what? You want to fly the pride flag? That's okay. Why don't you fly both flags? Now, I know the flag purists out there will say, no. Under protocol, each flag has to have its separate flagpole. But I can tell you, a lot of places do fly more than one flag on the same flagpole. The Canadian flag, of course, the unwritten rule is always be on top, right?
Right.
But and Recipe, by the way, is another company that has a director of communications that doesn't communicate.
Oh.
So why is she there? Because we couldn't get the rationale. And
Oh
one of
my
the questions, Natasha, was this. Is Recipe, which owns so many food service chains, Harvey's, Swiss Chalet, St. Hubert, The Keg, wonderful restaurants, I'll give them that. But is this part of the reason that, as you alluded to, this is a company that's become flag-phobic because, that Canadian flag too closely associated with the freedom movement?
It's insane. And part of some of the writing in this article, he mentions that Canada is still searching for its national identity. And it's like, are we though? I mean,
no.
I don't think so.
Well, and by the way, that last shot,
Yeah.
that's the next door neighbor for Recipe Unlimited, Mealy. And look, that's how it's done. They have 3 flagpoles.
Yeah.
One has the pride flag, one has their corporate flag, and one has the Canadian flag. So how is it that a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate like Recipe can't get this right? And
Can't afford more than one flag.
Yeah, I mean, shockers, right?
Yeah.
And or is the question that members of the LGBT plus, I don't know the official.
I don't know.
I'm sure I'm missing some
The
numbers
whole
and
alphabet.
letters.
Yeah.
and sometimes why? Is there some connotation by Recipe that these people are flag phobic, that they don't like the Canadian flag? I don't think that's true.
No.
I know gay people that are very proud Canadians. So what is it? But the point is, folks, we don't have an answer.
Yeah.
We went there to pay them a house call, and they wouldn't say. And by the way, when Tabitha and I went to Sunderland School, we met a woman, and her Ford Escape SUV was adorned with 2 little Canadian flags. And we knew that would be a friendly interview, and it was. But get a load of this, Natasha. We were talking about this. Mm-hmm. And even in little Sunderland, Ontario, even on her own street, she told us, she'll drive by certain people. There's no decals, there's no bumper stickers, there's no F Trudeau flags, there's nothing like that. 2 little Canadian flags, and you know what? She has given the middle finger. Yeah.
My goodness.
So there is now, I think, an association of the Canadian flag with the Freedom Convoy. And Natasha, freedom to so many members on the progressive left is the new F word.
Yeah, that's insane.
I know.
And it's crazy because I live in Leslieville, and you walk down the streets of Leslieville, and there are gay flags everywhere. Literally everywhere. I don't even, no Canadian flags really.
Isn't that something?
It's crazy. Like, people died for our country's freedom. Like, the flag is a symbol of, their sacrifice, and, you're just crapping on them. Our Canadians are crapping on their efforts. They risk their lives. It's just appalling to me. I'm truly appalled.
I'm amazed. And you know what? It might be... I've been told, get a load of this, folks, we have to take a commercial break. So... I believe it's either a promo for the Great Reset trailer or our Dominion Day swag. Let's check it out.
Canada is not a dirty word. Canada is not a racist country. Canada is the true north, strong and free. This Canada Day, if you want to remind the Canadians who have forgotten what Canada is really about, go to rebelnewsstore.com and check out our new exclusive line for Canada Day, as well as our other gear for the Patriots at home. You can even save when you use coupon code Canada25 on 2 items or more, and all purchases go to support our journalism here at Rebel News, which is completely independent from the government. Happy Canada Day.
Nice.
Love it. What a wonderful ad. But then again, what does a black female know about racism? I mean, it's just incredible. And it's funny when you do have people of color speak out in support of Canada and it's not racist. They are the ones that get the most vicious attacks from the left.
From white liberals. It's always white people telling them, like throwing these racial slurs at them. It's so gross. And you're like, you are exactly what you claim to hate. Exactly.
It's almost as though they appropriate The Rock's famous catchphrase, which is, know your role and shut your mouth. It's embarrassing. But Drea Humphrey looked resplendent in that. I got to tell you, and by the way, folks, I don't think it was shown in that clip. For you old schoolers that pine for Dominion Day like me, we do have a Happy Dominion Day
shirt. Yes.
It's got a Mountie on it now. That might not be the most appropriate symbol
We need to edit it out. Yeah. No.
Maybe we have to go with the beaver or a moose or something like that. But these are all Canada Day shirts. I'm sure we're going to get to...
no, that's not it.
No,
that's a moose.
Canada. I know we have it because I have one. I'm going to wear it in Ottawa on my free time. Freedom isn't free. Love that shirt.
Maybe they took it down.
Holy macro. Did Dominion Day get canceled? How dare you?
Well, probably.
Well, trust me, folks, it does exist.
It does. I've seen it. Should we move on to, this is a fun one. This is a really fun one. Right. So, guys, a majority of Canadians disapprove of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Surprise,
Knock
surprise.
Me down with a feather.
Who would have thought?
Wow. So, as Richard Dawson used to say, survey says, what is that percentage, Natasha?
Yes, so according to a new Angus Reid poll, only 8% of Canadians strongly approve of Justin Trudeau, while 41% strongly disapprove. Overall, the Angus Reid Institute found that 59% of Canadians polled moderately or strongly disapproved of Trudeau, while only 38% showed any approval for his job as Prime Minister. 3% said they weren't sure.
My God, those are atrocious numbers. In the 70s, there was a show called 8 is Enough. No, it's not enough. 8% strongly approve of this guy. By the way, if any of you are watching and you're a member of the 8%, please send out a super chat to us. Explain why it is. Because, I'll tell you, for years now, Natasha, I've asked a very simple and I think a very fair question of Liberal supporters. That's when I go to a Liberal event. I can't get inside. They won't allow me. So I speak to the people in the lineups outside. And my question is simply this. In the last blank number of years, what has been Justin Trudeau's greatest accomplishment? And these are pro-Liberal supporters. These are Justin Trudeau fanboys and fangirls. Nobody can give me an answer.
Well... Perhaps it's because, according to this article, inflation is at its highest in 39 years.
Wow.
39 years. People are expressing concern that they won't be able to feed their families due to overwhelming inflation. And apparently, Stats Canada report shows that 1 in 5 Canadians are likely to rely on food banks this year. And what's Trudeau doing about it? What's he doing about it?
Oh, he's stocking his private aircraft with thousands of dollars worth of liquor and other marvelous edibles.
Yeah.
And it's not just, when you look at inflation, there's a hidden statistic there, folks. And I don't know if you notice this when you go to the supermarket, Natasha, but there's what I guess you can call it shrinkflation, which is you pick up something that used to be, say, 500 grams, and it's now 430 grams.
It's the same price.
Same price,
Yeah.
right? So technically, I guess that's not inflation, but it's shrinkflation. It is hurting you financially because
Oh,
you're
yeah.
not getting the same. Have you noticed that?
Oh yeah, Alexis and I talked about this on a live stream a few weeks ago. Like even notice like a bag of chips, it's like half full, but the price is either the same or more as it was several years ago. It's insane. And I mean, if you can't afford to live in your own country, like people, like what are people? We're so limited into what we can do, especially when mandates have finally dropped. We can board a plane and all that. And I'm thinking to myself, I can't even afford to travel. Like,
Oh, no.
Like the lockdown is inflation.
100%. And let's not forget one of the biggest gorillas in the inflationary room, which is shameful given our mineral wealth in Canada, and that's the price of the pump. You know, last week, I'm driving in North Toronto, and it looked like a scene from the zombie apocalypse. It was cars at every gas station lined up, and I'm talking about some of these cars must have been in line 25 minutes to get to the pump. The price of gas was $1.92.9. That triggers a stampede. Well, I guess when we've seen gas in the GTA at least get close to $2.25, I guess it does. Can you imagine that?
No.
$1.93 is considered a bargain.
I know. And all the government needs to do is rely on our natural resources.
Yes.
That would literally solve all of our inflation problems. That and maybe, not printing so much money there, Trudeau, but it's crazy.
That's the thing. We wouldn't have to print so much money,
Exactly,
Natasha.
yeah.
Name me another nation in the world, an oil-producing nation. Well, I guess under the
US,
Biden administration, but if we go back 2 years ago, that wasn't the case where
course.
America was a net energy exporter.
Yeah.
Now you have the grotesque spectacle of Biden begging OPEC to give more supply. But we have trillions of dollars of mineral wealth that is basically landlocked because you can't get pipelines made to deliver it to market. And yet we import Saudi Arabian oil. And if you don't have a problem with that, folks, I'll tell you this, please read the big boss man's book. Ezra Levant, about 10 years ago, wrote a book called Ethical Oil, which is the stuff we have in Canada. I don't think the Saudis have a human rights record they can brag about. So why do we turn the other cheek when it comes to that oil? That's still carbon.
Yeah.
And this is a liberal government obsessed with our carbon footprints. Why do we import it from some of the worst regimes in the world, and yet our Canadian ethical oil, which would boost the economy, which would create thousands of well-paying jobs, by the way, that a lot of Indigenous people are involved with, and when it comes to the oil patch, because I know this government's all about Indigenous issues. Well, they say they are. I mean, when it's, Indigenous Day and Justin Trudeau buggers off to Tofino to go surfing, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if his heart's really in it. But this is shameful.
Yeah.
And we know from some of the candidates, especially Pierre Poilievre, that's going to end come regime change. And if he's true to his word, and defunding the CBC.
Well, you'd think that with such a low approval rating that Trudeau is aware of this and he's like, maybe I should try to, switch things up a bit. Like, it's insane.
You're right. And I would say on two fronts, the energy front, he could say something like this, and I think liberals would accept this, that we understand we're in the midst of a climate crisis, a climate emergency, however they want to refer to it, folks. But at this, stage in time, with so many Canadians facing the prospect of ex-liberal Dan McTague, what he says, you either you get heat or eat, but you don't get both. He's talking about in the wintertime, of course, that we have to build some of these pipelines, and maybe we can work on other green initiatives when this inflationary and stagflationary period is over. I think that's reasonable, but no. It's virtue signaling, and maybe, just maybe, Natasha, this is a prime minister who knows that he is already past the best before date.
Right.
I don't think he's electable. If they do last with the help of Jagmeet Singh till 2025, I think it's going to be a bloodbath because of the economic trauma. And he doesn't care. He's so entitled. He'll never suffer.
Yeah.
He'll never go a day, without a silver spoon in his mouth.
Yeah, it's at our expense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some would say maybe Klaus Schwab has something to do with this. So maybe this is a good segue to show a trailer for the Great Reset documentary.
Yes.
Are we able to pull that up?
What does the bad Claus, as opposed to the Santa Claus, have to say?
When it was first published in 2016, the fourth industrial revolution made the case that technology and digitization will revolutionize everything.
One of the features of this fourth industrial revolution is that it doesn't change what we are doing, but it changes us.
Making the overused and often ill-used adage, this time is different. Simply put, major technology innovations are on the brink of fueling momentous change throughout the world. In the 4 short years since, technology progressed and moved impressively fast. AI is now all around us, from drones and voice recognition to virtual assistants and translation software.
Where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned, we don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
Our mobile devices have become a permanent and integral part of our personal and professional lives, helping us on many different fronts, anticipations, our needs, listening to us and locating us, even when asked not to do so.
Natasha, is it just me, or does Klaus Schwab come across as a James Bond villain, or better
Yes.
yet, Dr. Evil from the Austin Powers movie?
Yeah.
I'm almost expecting him to put his pinky finger on his lip when he starts speaking. The only thing is, those are fictional properties. This is very much real. What's your take?
Well, it just makes it all the more sinister, frankly. I
Yeah.
mean, and you guys should definitely check out this docuseries. Louis Brackpool's been working on it, Key and Simone, Dave Shrigley, and you can check it out at exposethereset.com. I think the first episode is out, and this is going to be the second one. So definitely check it out and give us a few bucks to support their docuseries so that Rebel News can make more great stuff like this.
And again, Natasha, when it comes to, I keep a category of news stories which I call overlooked, underreported. An example is the number of Christian churches that were burnt down last year in Canada.
Yeah.
I think over 65 or something like that. Virtually very little media coverage. Some of the media coverage saying, well, we understand why. I mean, you could imagine if these were mosques being burnt to the ground or Sikh temples or what have you, how it would still be on the front page. What this group of individuals are trying to achieve, I think, falls into the category of overlooked, underreported, and when reported, almost an apologist frame of mind.
Right, and if anyone kind of questions that some of these things that the docuseries talks about may actually be happening, you're just deemed a conspiracy theorist. And
Yep.
it's not like the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab are hiding their agenda. There's books about it, like they tweet about it. So it's funny that you're deemed a conspiracy theorist when it's right out there for all to see. And I think this docuseries is going to do a great job of exposing that.
Well, you got to watch it, folks.
Yeah.
It's fantastic, and thank you to our team members for putting that together.
Yeah.
Now, I know we're rapidly running out of time, but before we go to our chats, Natasha, well, lo and behold, I can't believe this headline, or more appropriately, I can't believe this headline is appearing in a newspaper as opposed to Mad Magazine. But what am I saying? Mad Magazine went out of business in 2019. You can't parody this world anymore, folks. It's too insane,
It's a
even
clown
for Mad.
world.
Trans woman, that means, oh, jeez, look at that. Trans woman, 29, beats girl, 13, in skateboarding competition. Oh, I'm sure it was a level playing field. I mean, a fake female, a biological man, competing against a 13-year-old girl. Before we rant on this, let's throw to half-minute clip of Seinfeld. Back in the 90s, this sort of stuff was the fodder for parody. I think if you do it today, you're on the cusp of committing a hate crime. Do you remember the infamous episode where Kramer joined a martial arts club? Check it out.
Are you prepared for kumite? Yes, sensei. Fighting stance. Hajime, begin! Winner!
Who would have thought he would have won?
You
Who
know,
would have thought?
Incredible how prescient that was in
Yeah.
terms of the trans debate, because now you have Franken females competing against biological women, and they're winning, they're creaming them, and yet to raise a cautionary flag is considered transphobic. Like, where's the feminist movement?
I have no idea. I think the feminist movement is pretty anti-woman at this point, clearly. But the biggest thing that concerns me is that this person is probably proud that they destroyed little kids in a competition. Like, I'm sorry, but there's nothing to be proud of. You should be embarrassed. Like, wouldn't you be embarrassed if you were like, yeah, I beat those little kids? Like, what? Especially being a biological male competing against little girls. It's creepy and...
And that's the key phrase, not kids, girls.
Yeah.
This is a man.
Yeah.
And you can take the hormone shots, you can slice and dice your genitalia. At the end of the day, that's still a man with superior muscle mass, superior cardiovascular. That's not sexism, folks. That's just biology here. And it's the reason why that, with the exception of equestrian and auto racing, males and females have always competed in different categories. I say this is the solution. And by the way, I would tune into this because I think it would be one hell of a freak show for the money. You have male division, female division, other division, and have at it.
Well, that is something that I think it was FINA who announced to ban trans swimmers like Leah from competing against other women in sports. And I think that they are trying to consider making an other category now for these people, which I think is fair. If you want to transition and you want to play sports, I'm all for it, but don't ruin women's lives, especially little kids' lives. Like, that's insane.
And you know, and I want to give a tip of the hat to the International Rugby Union, which has also banned males from competing with females. Because can you imagine, rugby is football without the equipment.
Yeah.
So someone like you, imagine you've got the ball and some, guy like me or bigger comes charging you're going to get a broken bone, Natasha.
Yeah, unless I'm really fast.
Yes.
Which I am. No.
Or throw the ball into the stands or something. That's what I would do, But
just wear a jetpack that day.
But that, and as I've spoken to Sheila about on several occasions, you can say sports, it's the toy department of life, it's fun and games, even if there is cheating going on. But there's a far more dire situation when it comes to this trans acceptance, and that is biological males in Canada, thanks to Justin Trudeau, simply stating that I identify as female, and when I break the law, guess what? I'm going to a female penitentiary where I can bullerize the female inmates there. It's almost like having your own harem, if you can imagine. How did we get here?
Yeah, well, and it's such a slippery slope because, okay, this person identifies as a male or a female, sure, but what if you start identifying as children and then these creepy adult males are allowed to go, to class with little kids and they're like, well, I'm playing with you and weird stuff like that. Like, where do you draw the line? Like, the meaning of words matter. And I think that it's crazy that they're just trying to completely erase these definitions.
But what you just said, Natasha, is completely appropriate criticism to this story. Trans woman 29 beats girl 13.
Yeah.
What in blue hell? I can tell you, whether you're playing soccer, whether you're playing hockey, lacrosse, at the amateur level for kids, there's age divisions. So it's, a couple of years, you're in one division, you move to the next and so on. How is it justified that a 13-year-old biological girl competes against a 29-year-old.
Like a fully grown adult.
Yeah.
Like, it would be wrong if it was a woman against a child.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even if this was a biological. I mean, I don't know anything about the skateboarding community. Maybe, people can educate me that way. But the age difference, this person's
That's the
almost.
red flag.
Yes.
Yeah. No,
Right?
it's true. Like almost twice the age of this person. I think.
No, more than
Yeah,
twice the
exactly. And I think the eldest that was able to compete in this competition was only like 17 or something. So still over a decade older than all of the competitors.
So how the hell does that happen?
I have no idea.
Or would keeping this trans woman out of the competition, would that be an example of ageism?
Yeah, maybe just
Unbelievable.
It's crazy. It's so crazy. Should we play one more clip before we jump into maybe some super chats?
Fantastic.
Or rants, rumble rants as they call them. I think there's this fun clip from Hillary Clinton.
Always fun.
Yeah, she's hilarious. Get it? Hilarious.
Oh, good one.
I'm so funny. No. Maybe we should throw to that, please, producers.
And about same-sex marriages, but other justices have pushed back to say, no, he's really sort of on his own with that.
Well,
Don't believe that?
Well, he may be on his own, but he's signaling, as he often did. I went to law school with him. Mm-hmm. He's been a person of grievance for as long as I've known him. Resentment, grievance, anger. And he has signaled in the past to lower courts, to state legislatures, find cases, pass laws, get them up. I may not win the first, the second, or the third time, but we're going to keep at it.
So you're saying people pay attention to
Yes,
this?
the people he is speaking to, which are the, right-wing, very conservative judges and justices and state legislatures. And the thing that there's so many things about it that are deeply distressing, but women are going to die, Gail. Women will die.
We reached out to Justice Thomas for a comment. We have not.
The criticism Justice Clarence Thomas is receiving, and I'm talking liberals, and I've seen it in the Twitterverse,
They're
using
racist.
the N-word
Yeah.
to describe him.
They
I'm not
are
making this up,
so
folks.
racist. And then I saw a tweet from someone who called him the N-word, and in their bio had hashtag BLM. Literally, I saw that with my own two eyes. I thought I was dreaming. I was not. We are in a clown world. But just going back to the clip, wasn't Hillary Clinton someone who said that abortion should be safe, legal, and rare? And now she's like, oh, this is an egregious decision by the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade, even though abortion legislation will still be left up to the state. She's such a, does she remember what she said?
Yeah, that's a great point, Natasha. And I wonder what her position is on partial birth abortion, which isn't really an abortion by definition.
Infanticide.
It's really, infanticide. I wonder what she thinks about the tens of millions of girls from the 1970s alone in various countries around the world that were aborted for no reason. It wasn't the mother's health. It wasn't financial reasons, but because they were girls. That's the very definition of misogyny.
Yeah.
I wonder where she weighs in on that.
Right.
But you can't get straight answers to those kind of questions.
No, you certainly can't.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and this is actually a topic that Kat and I are talking about on our show tonight, the Roe v. Wade Supreme Court decision to overturn it. So definitely tune in tonight on Rebel News Plus at 7 p.m. Check out Misunderstood.
It's a lot of fun, even when they tackle the serious issues like this one, folks. So do we have indeed, Mrs. Producer Olivia, some super chats? Okay, then. I'll let you read them because your eyes are far better than mine.
We'll see. This is from AMT60. Thank you for your dollar. Today, June 28th, the U.S. FDA will vote on the Future Framework, a scheme that would allow Pfizer and Moderna to reformulate COVID-19 mRNA jabs without conducting clinical trials on the new jabs. Oy.
You know what? I'm not an expert on this
Neither.
file. I'll tell you who is, though. It's our colleague,
Tamara.
Tamara Ugolini.
Yeah.
She's like the COVID nerd, and I say that in an affectionate way. She just absorbs all this information like a sponge.
she's a boss.
And she makes sense of it. So I'll reach out to her and see if she can give me a a Reader's Digest education on that.
Yeah, or send her an email. I'm sure she'd love to cover
I
this.
would bet she's already on top of it.
Yeah, I believe you. Yeah. What can't she do? Beautiful. Do we have any more?
Okay.
Here's from Tyler Shelton. Thank you for your 5. I don't know what that is.
5 library.
Library.
Yep.
Thank you. Canada is a province of the WEF and UN. What Canadians want has no impact on government policy. It is dictated to us from abroad. There is no political solution. Our capital is currently an armed camp, so no one can protest.
And it's going to get worse
with
the likes of if Bill C-11 does get royal assent, the censorship laws that are afoot. And you don't even have to go as far as WEF connections in terms of imprisoning Canadians. Look at our own parliament.
Yeah.
You have the leader of the 4th place party, Jagmeet Singh, who on one hand chastises this Liberal government on a daily basis, and on the other hand always votes to prop them up. And what is the motivation? Well, I'll tell you what I think it is. 2025, coincidentally, is 6 years of service for Jagmeet Singh. That's the length of this gentleman's agreement, if I can call these guys gentlemen. And that means Jagmeet Singh qualifies for a pension for life.
Ooh, baby.
What? Like I said, he's the leader of the 4th place party. This is a party horribly in debt, thanks to the last election. This is also a party. When I look at the NDP today, Natasha, it's a 2-headed dragon. There's the classical NDP lunch bucket brigade kind of MPs that want pipelines built. They want, the blue collar workers to get good, well-paying jobs. And then there's the Jagmeet Singhs, wearing their Armani suits and going to Starbucks and sipping on lattes and salivating over canceling the latest pipeline project. So it is completely at odds with itself. And I would even say it might even be irrelevant now, because the Liberal Party today is so far left.
Yeah.
Why go orange?
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. Well, follow the money, honey.
Yep.
Follow the money. This is from Fraser. Thank you for your $5. Diesel fuel. Over the weekend, I listened to a broadcast. The 3 largest diesel production plants, all located on the east coast of the USA, 2 of which are closed. They said the U.S. will be out of diesel fuel by the end of August. What it means, no harvest, no trucks, no rail, no diesel fuel. I have heard that about planes as well. Like there's going to be a shortage of plane fuel.
Yeah, I think there's something to that because, traditionally, more or less, if you look at diesel fuel, I know we don't have a lot of diesel-powered cars in Canada, much like Europe, where it's almost 50%. But typically, diesel fuel, on average, is about 10 cents a liter cheaper than regular gas. However, I've noticed at the pump, the last time I took notice, diesel fuel was 25 cents a liter more expensive.
Wow.
Which I think indicates, a supply and demand issue, because I've never seen the chasm that big between regular gas and diesel. And and for all the smug Liberals living in downtown Vancouver, Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, well, I don't drive anything, man. Well, how do you think your public transit bus works? How do you think the products get to the supermarket and the pharmacy? It's this kind of virtue signaling.
Yep.
Or maybe it's a misbelief that what happens in the big cities, it's the equipment is powered by, dilithium crystals or something. Unbelievable.
Ignorance is bliss. Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but I'm happy.
You're funny. This is from G. Melinda G60. Thank you for your $5. I love Rebel News. Texan here. Well,
G. Melinda, thank you so much.
We love Texas.
I'll tell you who really loves Texas. Lady Menzoid always has a fantasy of planning our escape.
Yeah.
All right. That's how, if you think I'm critical of the government, you should see what my better half has to say. And it's down to either Texas or Florida. So maybe you can write back someday and make the case for Texas. Yeah. I'm happy with either one. I've been to both states, love them both, love the people there a lot too. So
you know what they say though?
What's that?
The Canadian dream is moving to America.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll see you one day.
That's true.
This is from Wrong Way 54. Thank you for your $2. Sounds like Friday will be interesting. Will there be snipers on the roofs again? Goodness gracious. I hope not.
Great question. I assume there will be.
That's insane.
Well, it's insane to us, but what it is for the government, this is what I would call law enforcement theater. You know, we were there at the end of April for Rolling Freedom. Rolling Thunder.
Yeah, the motorcade. Yeah.
The motorcade, and only a few motorcycles got into downtown. But the Friday night, I'll never forget, and it was various law enforcement services for Durham Region, York Region, the RCMP, the Ottawa Police Service, etc. And it was on, the street leading, I guess it would be the extension of Wellington Street where Parliament is. And it was the most perverse thing I've ever seen. It was these columns, like marching in army style, cordoning off, a few meters of road at a time. For what end? There was no end.
Of course not.
All the shops were closed, right? And it was all street theater.
Ugh.
And so I think, you will see snipers on the roof. These guys know they're not going to be needed. It's very unlikely they'll be needed, I should say. And but it is to further vilify and demonize the people showing up that this might be a threat to our democracy. This might be an insurrection that's going to happen on Parliament Hill. You're not going to see that. Trust me. It's just Canadians that love their freedom and their charter rights trying to have a peaceful protest, but because they're on the wrong side of the political ideology when it comes to the Trudeau Liberals, they're being denied that.
It's a free place, huh?
Yeah. Freedom ain't free.
Hey, no kidding. This is from Al Kramer. Thank you for your $50. Wow, that's so generous. Go Rebel News, go. We need more people to wake up. This liberal shit show must go. You're a good poet.
And thank you for that generous donation.
Yeah.
What do you think? On paper or by that gentleman's agreement that I mentioned earlier, Natasha, 2025, which I can't even foresee. I mean, I know in geological time that's a blink of an eyelash, but in political time that's several eternities. Do you think we're going to have to wait that long to have a federal election?
I don't know. I have a feeling Trudeau's going to try his hand at the majority. Don't you think? I think he's pretty cocky. Like, I feel like he'd try anyway. I was surprised to see him win the last election, to be honest.
Well, but I'm not, because we saw what happened to Aaron O'Toole when he turned into Mr. Dithers 2.0.
Yeah.
I'm of two minds of Justin Trudeau because he's an egomaniac. He can go either way.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm going to run again and get either reelected or, as you said, get that majority. Or, because he's an egomaniac, once again, I can't bear the thought of being defeated. So maybe like Brian Mulroney tossing the keys to the Cadillac to Kim Campbell in 1993, where you had a supermajority government become what I call the Mazda Miata Party, 2 seats left for the then Progressive Conservative Party. I could see Justin Trudeau out of hubris and ego taking that step, Natasha, so that he doesn't suffer the brunt of defeat and passes off, look, it wasn't my fault. I gave her the car in perfectly good order and she drove it off a cliff. That's what he would do.
Yeah, that's a good point. God willing, that's the case. Okay. Do we have any more? Should probably wrap things up here pretty soon. All right. So we have Aqua Skies 3636. Thank you for your $1. Why is abortion now considered birth control? Jagmeet voted for sex selection abortion last year. Yeah, so did Pierre Poilievre. So just saying.
Yeah. You know what? As a female, I think you're a female and you're still identifying as a female.
Yeah, I'm still identifying for now. Yeah.
Well, where do you weigh in on this, Natasha?
On the abortion issue? Well, I believe I follow the science, y'all. Life begins at conception. So that's really the basis for me. I don't think we wouldn't murder any other defenseless class of citizens. So why is there a weird attack on babies in the womb? Like, it's insane.
Yeah, and with the Supreme Court decision, it's not an illegalization
No,
of abortion.
absolutely
it's
not.
putting it into the hands of the state.
Yeah, and if you're in a red state and you want to go get an abortion, just move to a blue state or go to a blue state, like whatever.
And and this is mystifying to me, the media narrative of, will American women have to fly to Canada or Italy to get that abortion? No! Why would you fly to another nation, right? I could see an abortion tourism market in California or New York where they have very liberal abortion laws.
Yeah, up to 9 months, guys. Go there.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Truly.
And
from G. Melinda 60 again. Thank you for your $5. Texas is a whole other country. East Texas is the piney woods.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, you know what? I know Texans do have that, bravado, I would say.
Yeah.
That it's almost a nation within a nation. It's the second largest state, I do
think
believe.
So, yeah. They have a strong identity for sure, which is I appreciate.
And but there's a can-do attitude there, and they don't put up with BS. I will say this much: if Texas ever flips from blue to red, or even becomes purple, you might never see a Republican Party voted on again. And that is one of the dilemmas when you have people fleeing red states, primarily because the taxes are so out of control, and they go to blue states.
Yeah.
And the first thing, or did I get my...
They go to the red states, blue to red. Yeah.
You know what? Because in Canada, I'm sorry, folks, the color scheme is...
Yeah, it is.
The
It's
red
off.
is the liberal and the blue is conservative. It's all so confusing.
It is, yeah.
But, they moved to, right of center states, so I don't get color confused. And they'll go to Florida and they'll go to Texas and they'll settle in a community and they'll go, you know what? How come we don't have bike pass here? And how come we don't have a special community? We should raise tax. And they start to turn it into the state they left
bring
from.
their crappy politics with them.
Right.
Don't do that, y'all. Like, don't do that. Just stay in crappy California,
Yeah.
Like, just stay there. I think that those who are Republicans would appreciate it if you didn't come and infest their state.
Indeed.
So... do we have any more? All right.
Yes, we do.
This is from Orizia. Thank you for your $10. I'm getting into this trans stuff. I now identify as a young person, even though I'm 73. I think you nailed it. I think so.
Well,
I think that's how it works.
And conversely, can a 14-year-old go into a liquor store and buy hard booze?
I'm going to try it. I'm only 17, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
Wow.
identify as a 17-year-old.
I had no idea, folks.
Yeah. It's all the wrinkles. He's just.
But you get carded, I am sure.
I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a compliment.
It's the sweat. Just keeps me young. Do we have any more? We're done.
That's it.
That's
All
it.
right.
Well, thank y'all for tuning in. You want to take it away?
Natasha, time flies with you as always. I want to thank everyone behind the board, Olivia and Efren.
Danny,
thank you. I always forget Danny for some reason.
she's
I have no
unforgettable, so you got to work on that.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So no offense, and thank you for filling in for Sheila. Sheila, by the way, couldn't make it, not because she's a sluggard or anything like that. She's covering a very important court case, and she was needed for that. So thank you so much, Natasha.
Anytime.
There will be 2 other Rebel News reporters here on Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern. In the meantime, folks, stay sane.
Drea Humphrey here with Rebel News, and Lincoln J, who's behind the camera, have arrived at Halifax Convention Center because the Mass Casualty Commission is about to have proceedings, and we're going to give you full reports on that. That is the public inquiry probing into Canada's largest mass shooting, and also giving us concerning details about a unfolding RCMP Trudeau scandal. You're going to get full reports and also live tweets on what happens right away at firelucky.com. And if you appreciate that Canada's largest independent media is come all the way to Nova Scotia to bring you these reports, please help us cover the costs to do so at firelucky.com as well. Drea Humphrey for Rebel News.